Ah, yes, the good old days when Disney logos didn't have to conform to whatever movie. Well, as opposed to the Galactic Federation headquarters on planet Zenzion?
Dr. Jumba Jukiba.
Why does this space court have the defendant standing on some sort of a floating pod while he's being read the charges? It always seems like movies do this to make things look out of this world, but I have a lot of logistical questions for these aliens. And I'm sure I'll look stupid when they explain why. Because they're aliens and more advanced and have centuries of floaty pod knowledge that I don't have.
Create something? But that would be irresponsible and unethical.
Well, at least now we know why Disney is going so heavy with the remakes. Far be it from me to give Disney new spin-off ideas, but if it's gonna happen, I need a full TV series on Disney Plus about this side-eyed teddy bear. I'm assuming his name is Mr. Pookie McFluffentuft, and he's fed up with your bullshit.
What is that monstrosity?
I guess I'm supposed to be appalled by Stitch, but do I think the other multi-armed, many-eyed aliens are normal? Not 2 feet from you, there's an octopus with a robot body, but he's cool. What the hell is this? That's just the number 3. Looks like someone was struggling with a bout of Gliffer's block. Everyone reacts to a made-up language like they just said something super offensive, even though everyone has been speaking English up until now. Cliché. Are we going to get subtitled alien locations for every new room? I think we get the idea without having it spelled out. Even the kiddos. In fact, especially the kiddos.
The Council has banished you to exile on a desert asteroid.
The Space Council follows the precedent set by the Parallax case and simply banishes Stitch, despite calling him a product of a deranged mind. Why let space handle this when you could just keep Stitch in this indestructible glass jar?
These guns are locked onto your genetic signature.
Again, indestructible jar. Why was he taken out of that? Why is there a prisoner system dedicated to genetically locked guns when you have the jar? These look like pretty complicated and well thought out genetic cannons for no one to have considered the saliva corollary. What game is this hammerhead playing? He's holding these things like cards, but isn't he the only one in the room? Is there a solitaire game where you hold your cards in your hand like this? Also, some asshole who was hired to pay attention isn't paying attention so that the movie can happen. Cliché.
He's loose on deck C!
But he hasn't escaped yet. That armadillo alien can see the future. Those lasers just blasted through a security door a moment ago, but now they can't penetrate this material? Stitch is looking pretty badass, but his escape isn't adding up. I smell an inside job.
He's headed for the power grid.
Why do they always put the power grid next to the ventilation system? Rookie mistake, spacecraft builders. Also, are we sure Stitch knocked out the power? Captain Shoot Now and Ask Later is looking like a strong candidate for the incident report. Stitch starts shooting at the fleet, and I guess the fleet can't be bothered to shoot his ship down, because after all, he was banished and not sentenced to death, and you must follow the court's orders no matter what.
Hyperdrive activated.
Stitch activates the hyperdrive, which, wait, why does this small alien police ship have a hyperdrive? I'm pretty sure I read somewhere or saw in a movie completely unrelated to this that said something about little ships not being capable of hyperdrive. And I'm sticking to that made-up rule that I can't properly reference.
Quadrant 17, Section 005, Area 51.
Har har.
A planet called Yarth.
You speak our language fluently. How do you not know our planet's name?
We have to guess the planet.
Hold everything!
Conveniently quirky scientist who just happens to know everything about Earth and has a Viewmaster presentation at the ready, even though it just came up in the last 60 seconds, is quirky and convenient.
Earth is a protected wildlife reserve. Yeah, we've been using it to rebuild the mosquito population, which, need I remind you, is an endangered species.
Okay, haha, you got your joke in, but how many goddamn mosquitoes do you need before your rebuild is done? Can you guys come take a few billion the next time you're here? That would be swell.
Can we not simply destroy the island?
Amazing to me that this head council member decided to banish Stitch earlier, but was ready to gas an entire planet to kill Stitch just a second ago. I thought the reason why they banished him was because of some sort of opposition to the death penalty, but now I realize it was just a plot device. Why is this headline in English, and the rest of this article written in what I can only assume is the native language of cats who walk across keyboards? Also, how does an alien ship put out a newspaper about Jumba mere hours after the incident? And why are there aliens publishing newspapers? And he's been in jail for an hour and already has a photo collection.
Plasma cannon granted. Do we have a bargain, Dr. Jumba?
Sure, give the guy who just self-described himself as an evil genius a plasma cannon, because this seems like exactly the thing that will bring about solutions. Nirvana did it better. Is there an ideas union now? This is one of the weirdest credits ever put into a film, based on a freaking idea? Chris, we're gonna go with your idea, but we can only pay you idea money, and you will be compensated as such. I know that's not as much as dream money, but times are tight. Everyone in the fucking world can see there's 4 girls coming out for this song, but this guy counts each one as if it's difficult to see that a 5th one is missing. Also, this never would have happened if he had cast Moana instead. It's a good thing this water decided to wait to be slippery until after the song, so this discount Pepper Ann could slip on it while standing still, instead of, well, you know, dancing around on it.
Ew, she bit me.
You're a lying asshole, little girl. During this entire sequence, Lilo lays a fistful of smackdown on you and never once bites or has the chance to bite your arm. Okay, so Nani was on the way to pick up Lilo at her massive failure of a dance recital, only to find out that Lilo had left before she got there. But how did Lilo get back to the house without Nani seeing her, since it appears there's only one way to get here? Furthermore, how did Lilo have time to nail the door shut? And I guess she also did this to the back door since Nani isn't even trying it. And why doesn't she have a house key? Also, how is this supposed to indicate that Lilo nailed the door shut? By pounding nails partially into a frame? How does this magic work?
You left the stove on while you were out.
Chloe! Just a simmer.
A social worker arrives at a house and an unusual amount of crazy bullshit goes wrong during their visit cliche. Also, Nani is a terrible human being who should have Lilo taken away from her immediately, and no amount of animated bullshit redemption will change my mind on this.
My friends need to be punished.
Just in case you forgot that our protagonist was a 6-year-old psychopath, movie is here to remind you every few seconds.
In case you're wondering, this did not go well. You have 3 days to change my mind.
How the f does that work? You already suspect the worst. So what does 3 days do? This isn't a failed emissions test where you either fix your car or you use one of the many cheats to pass on it. Like, quite literally, it looks like all Nani has to do is clean the house and make sure the front door isn't nailed shut, and she'll be considered a fit guardian. Seems like a pretty intricate and unnecessary plan. You know, she's in the washer, and it's not like she really has anywhere to go if you open that door. Can we talk for a sec about Lilo's early onset fat fetish? At some point, a childhood quirk of photographing large white people's close-up places becomes something to discuss with a professional. Otherwise, you might grow up to be Tom Ford directing Nocturnal Animals. This dickhead was shooting drops of water a second ago, but now when he encounters an actual living thing, he gets sudden discipline. Where are all these guns even coming from? How the hell did Jumba even know to find Stitch here? The aliens only knew he landed on the island, but couldn't possibly have known that a trucker ran him over and took him to an animal shelter. Adopt Plus today?
A dog, I think, but it was dead this morning.
Wait, but when Stitch woke up, he was in a kennel with several other dogs. Are you in the habit of tossing presumed deceased animals into your cages? And why not call a vet while you're at it? Okay, awesome shout out to the animation studios that helped make Lilo and Stitch possible, but what a ridiculous place to put it. It's like you're saying that the characters in this movie can't see it or won't read it and wonder what the f it's talking about. Hell, it even contains the name Lilo, and the name Lilo gives the creature right after this contract is signed, which would make me think this animal shelter dabbles in witchcraft.
Keep quiet. He's listening for us.
How good is his hearing?
His hearing is great, which means he also should have heard everything before this, including whatever Jumba said. What is this movie? The middle of the road is not an appropriate place to apologize for biting someone. I feel like this would be covered in kindergarten. Grand Theft Big Wheel.
This is your badness level.
Coloring book shaving.
David, I got a new dog.
You sure it's a dog?
So many more people should be asking this exact question. I mean, even if you don't know it's an alien, we are all going koala before dog with this, right? And yes, I know she mentions that later, but it wouldn't even take a full second to know this isn't a dog.
Did you catch fire again?
God help this movie if I see someone do one Mockingjay gesture.
I gotta go. The kid at table 3's throwing poi again.
Because how else would Hawaii be a character in this movie if it wasn't for the casual poi reference? Wait, these assholes were in the restaurant the whole time? And nobody thought it was weird that a green cyclops in drag and a dude with obviously more than 2 eyes was sitting there? What are the odds that while thrift shopping for his second disguise of the day, Bleakley discovered the world's strongest wig glue?
The manager's a vampire, and he wanted me to join his Legion of the Undead.
I almost said I'd rather watch that movie, but I'm pretty sure that's the plot to Hotel Transylvania 3, so I'm good.
This is a great home. You'll like it a lot.
Is this movie seriously trying to tell me that they haven't been home once since they got Stitch? Wasn't Dumbo in this tray earlier? He must have flown away. Return of Dumbo, a sequel that should never be made. The Golden Gate Bridge, even when it's a model, is in some sort of danger cliche.
What are you doing?
Nothing?
Say, I want to try it on.
No!
Movie has time for this.
They're nuzzling my flesh with their noses!
Yeah, but mosquitoes make their living by not hurting you when they bite. They're f***ers. They bite you, then they leave, and then you're itchy, and all you want is revenge, and you'll never get it. Why does this shadow have 4 arms when Stitch is clearly operating with 2? Okay, fine, so Lilo, for some reason, has oyster farming and fire-eating vocational guides in her room. But why are the covers printed on the back of the book, and not the front? It's almost like it's meant for the audience.
He's sad because he's all alone and nobody wants him. But on this page, his family hears him crying, and they find him.
This abridged story of the Ugly Duckling completely misses the point of the story of the Ugly Duckling. He wasn't just lost and found, he was mocked and considered himself an outcast, but grew into a beautiful swan anyway. If you wanted to go with the lost and found thing, just go with Are You My Mother? The part where the bird asks the excavator if it birthed him was always my favorite. New model, who dis?
But I cannot ignore you being jobless. Do I make myself clear.
This is just a reminder that the social services guy even exists. He said he'd be back in 3 days, so I don't understand why he's back now, just to give Nani a warning.
Hands on your hips. Now follow my lead.
Unplanned synchronized choreography. First off, I'm not sure how this acoustic guitar makes a noise high enough to break glass. Second off, nobody is amazed at the dog that is currently playing a guitar like a god.
Good. Now kiss her.
While I'm amused with all the hijinks, being a tremendous hijinks fan, these little vignettes make me continue to be judgy about Nani's parenting skills. She lost her job because of Lilo and Stitch. She's failed at her job interviews because of them. And there apparently is no end in sight to their undisciplined behavior. Yet she keeps bringing them with her on every single interview, expecting them to wait quietly whenever she leaves them. This didn't impress the people at the diner a minute ago, but the people at the beach sure seem to understand how incredible this is. I guess all the ancillary characters in this movie go along with whatever the movie needs them to do. This is supposed to be a sad moment, but I will refer you to the multiple sins where I talked about how terrible a parent Nani is, and how she didn't bother to do anything after 3 failed interviews.
I know that there's no better cure for a sour face than a couple of boards and some choice waves.
I think that's a great idea.
Does this boards and waves thing you're talking about mean she'll get a job? Because that's the main issue with her life right now. The social services guy demands it, and there's a time crunch. We now take you to the surfing montage, because this movie that can barely stretch past 80 minutes would rather spend its precious time on another song than the whole space story part that we haven't checked in on in the last 20 minutes, even though I'm thinking it's the center of this one thing I've heard about called the plot. Also, I know nothing about surfing, but isn't riding one with a little girl on it dangerous? Like, it might change the weight and the maneuverability of the board. I don't know, which is why I'll send it and ask for forgiveness later. I mean, what is Lilo even holding on to on this board? What kind of assholes do this shit? Nani's tireless job search continues, but the poor woman just can't drum up any luck.
Something is not right. 626 is returning willingly to water.
Oh, right, because it was mentioned once in this movie that he was too dense to survive in water, or something. Yada yada plot something, yada yada family, yada yada closing song, cut, print, move on. Jumba completely pulls the Meg on Stitch here, and I can't decide what's more ridiculous, that he could swim that well, or that this is the moment he chooses to make his move. What's he been waiting for? If this guy's been following them the whole time, I have no idea why he hasn't gone ahead and put Lilo in a foster home. Can't imagine what he's seen that gives Nani the benefit of the doubt, unless mad surfing skills is a box you can fill on the good guardian checklist.
You need to think about what's best for Lilo, even if it removes you from the picture.
This is 100% abso-freaking-lutely true, and I'm not sure why the movie is trying to convince us otherwise.
Aloha, oi.
Ah, yes, the traditional Hawaiian song you sing when social services declares you an unfit guardian, just like Colonel James Harbottle Boyd intended.
That's us before.
Disney remember there must be a dead parent or two in every movie? Sure, it's alien technology, but what makes us think this phone would be waterproof? Maybe I'm both making up a sin because I want to and answering my own question. This job will tie you in knots sometimes.
Don't run. Don't make me shoot you. You were expensive.
30 minutes ago, you used the same gun to fire off green gloopy rounds. If we're doing it your way, you'd have pulled the trigger already.
I think I found you a job.
Okay, so how does this change the social services guy seeing Nani nearly drowning Lilo yesterday? Isn't that the reason why he's coming to take her away?
I need you to stay here for a few minutes. I'm gonna be right back.
She's 6. You can't leave a 6-year-old at home alone. This is why you're in trouble in the first place. You have learned nothing.
Your rules.
3 minutes ago, Jumba didn't want to shoot because Stitch was expensive to make. Make up your mind. Oh, good. They're home aloning him. Yay. Do your research when buying dinnerware. Look for descriptions that read plates made from unbreakable ceramic that maintains lustrous coating when hurled through roofing material. Cantu captures Lilo and Stitch and throws them into a jar, which attaches to the ship on the outside. All this alien technology and knowledge, and you store on the outside of your ship?
Experiment 626 is in custody.
Yeah, but didn't the commander tell them that they were fired and prison bound? Was it implied that as long as they tried really hard that they wouldn't be fired and prison bound? Blakely doesn't even wait for an answer, which should have been met with confusion since everyone thinks Cantu has Stitch.
Look at the bright side. You won't have to yell at anyone anymore.
I'm not sure I ever realized how terrifyingly dark this movie is. Are we sure Fincher didn't direct it?
You expect me to help you just like that? Fine.
You're doing what he says.
He's very persuasive.
The entire reason Jumba helps is written off as a joke and never explored again. It's almost like an ex machina where the screenwriters themselves are the god from the machine. This ship is flying completely sideways to achieve the dorsal fin effect that no one inside the movie would care about at all because reasons. Nobody who watches the skies for a living has noticed 2 spaceships flying around Earth the past 2 days. Lilo is also still unsecured in a solid container at the back of the ship, in case you were counting up the she survives this moments. And the winner for most non-hilarious running gag in an animated film goes to Sunburn Guy loses mint chocolate chip ice cream cone. Also, this is the 3rd time this beach bum has been foiled in his attempt to eat the ice cream, and our movie bias will tell us that he's never gotten the chance to eat it. But I choose to go with the math and figure this guy eats so many of these ice creams that having 3 foiled attempts is just a byproduct of his ice cream eating frequency. And look at him, he's surely gotten 10 successful attempts since this movie started. I mean, is it part of their plan to run into the ship that Lilo is unsecured in? I'm sorry, that's just dumb, and all that's left in that container is a Lilo puddle.
Get off my ship!
This ship has a control that allows you to point the engines in different directions, and my point is, that's bull.
What do we do now?
Stay close. Hope for a miracle. That's all we can do.
Or hail the other ship and ask for the human child? Communication is not that hard. There is absolutely nothing about this frog's relationship to Stitch that would lead us to believe that it cares about warning him of an upcoming ship. The only other time they interacted, this frog watched like a dick as Stitch got run over by a truck. Nice. Are we doing the A113 thing? Except we've already seen that license plate in Lilo's room and on a fire truck. Considering states won't issue the same plate twice, you've officially over Easter egged. Congratulations, Disney. You played yourself. No. No f***ing way. I'll suspend my disbelief for cartoon physics occasionally, but damn.
I am retiring you, Captain Gantu.
Geez, this councilwoman sure does make snap decisions based on very small sample sizes. This is completely against her character as introduced, when she asked the council to give Stitch a chance to prove himself at the beginning of the movie, even though he was considered an abomination. I guess that experience turned her into George Steinbrenner, and for all you crazy kids who don't know who George Steinbrenner is, just know he fired people on the New York Yankees a lot, including one guy 5 times.
You'll be lucky if you end up on a fluff trog farm after we sort this thing out.
Whoa there, movie. Give an earmuffs warning for the wee ones in the audience.
I paid $2 for him. See the snap? I own him.
This little plea will not only set Stitch free, but also allow Nani to keep Lilo. Because why would Earth or intergalactic laws matter when everyone's heart cockles are warm? The real laws were the friends we made along the way. Also, in an intergalactic court, a judge would tell this girl that because the council's decision to banish Stitch to an asteroid came before said contract was signed, that whatever is contained in the contract is null and void, including, and especially, the shoutouts to the Florida Feature Animation Studio, the California and Paris Feature Animation Studios, and Disney MGM.
This family is now under the official protection of the United Galactic Federation.
Sounds legit.
This won't be easy to explain back at headquarters.
Bubbles is going to go back and tell his people at social services that Nani, who is a horrible guardian, suddenly became a great one, after all the reports to the contrary. And he probably can't bring up aliens without being sent to a psych ward, so either way, Bubbles will be out of a job because we want Lilo and Stitch to continue having adventures.
Convinced an alien race that mosquitoes were an endangered species.
Well, that joke just came full circle, didn't it? How did that prevent the aliens from attacking exactly? Why did mosquitoes even come up in the conversation? Also, Blakely clearly said we are using Earth to rebuild the mosquito population. Like that was their plan all along. One thing this movie does to an insane degree is forget who had the plan, what the plan is, and whether there was even a plan in the first place. In the real world, and yes, I consider the world of Lilo and Stitch to be 100% realistic, Stitch would either be super famous or super stolen by government agencies when they find out all the things this bastard can do. Lilo would have to go on so many trips to infiltrate government labs to get Stitch back that it would practically be a new Mission Impossible franchise. And you already have Ving Rhames, so it's not a stretch.
I've abandoned my child!
Let's take a look-see. Hate your hair. Not likely. Yikes. Yikes, yikes. And let me guess, you have a great personality.
Right now, it's only a notion, but I think I can get money to make it into a concept, and then later turn it into an idea.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
You know, it was like one of those catfish things. You see going up the side of the aquarium, sucking his way up the glass.
Stop. Lilo.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.
I am the one they call when things go wrong.
I ain't through with you by damn sight. I'ma get medieval on your ass.
You look like an Elvis fan.
An Elvis man should love it.